In this chapter, we find out without a shadow of a doubt that Granny Setsuno is on another level. And I think the limousine jellyfish is pretty damn cool as well.
Toriko, gourmet number 93. So long, ice hell!
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and gourmet hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and century soup Granny Setsuno fairy tale of Toriko. Now, our last chapter saw us with, of course, us being introduced to Alfaro, who is obviously the second in command, the right-hand man of the boss of Gourmet Corp, and seeing he was very powerful, as he obviously very easily defeated and took out and just sliced and diced the Hellboros as well as the Parasite Emperor insect. So we were left, though, hanging with him, basically saying, hey, I'm going to go finish off Toriko and his friends, whoever's with him, and Granny Setsuno showing up and be like, So that's where we left off, and that's right where we pick up. We actually get a brief introduction and kind of what's going on as far as Toriko and company. Zangi had said that, you know, hey, listen, I know a way out, and blah blah blah. So, and that was in the last chapter as well. But anyway, they're all like, oh man, you know of a secret passage, and they keep calling him Ghost Guts. Now, I'm assuming that this must refer to another manga or another anime or something like that. The only Guts that I know of is obviously the character from Berserk. But anyway, it's funny because everybody keeps calling him then after he comes up with that whole thing with the secret passage, Ghost Guts. So it must be some kind of inside joke that obviously I'm not privy to just because I don't have that knowledge in it. So if anybody can clue me into that one in the comments down below, I'd certainly appreciate it. Because I like being able to pick up on those little connections and whatnot, you know, or maybe it's has to do with something from, you know, another work that he's done or another mangaka that he's fond of or something like that. So, but it is kind of funny because they do keep calling him Teppei, Toriko, oh, Guts, Ghost Guts, you know. So anyway, we wind up, though, picking up a couple pages into it right where we left off, and it looks like Granny Setsuno has arrived in what appears to be this giant-looking, like, jellyfish. There's no other way to describe it. But she goes and she says, oh, man, you know, I said, boy, my ice hell is much colder than I thought. And then Alfaro is like, yeah, you must be losing it, old woman, type of thing, something along those lines. You must be slipping a little bit in your old age. You know, you can actually see your breath. Your breath is white, you know. And so anyway, they're like, what the hell are you doing here, you know? And she says, well, I'm here to go and, you know, I'm here to retrieve Toriko and his friends, so you best stay out of my way. And then she goes, you know, you got your soup, now get on home, right? And this is only after she goes and says something about, when he says, you know, when Alfaro says, what are you doing here and this and that, and she says, oh, you know, makes mention of his boss, you know, and obviously the head of Gourmet Corp, and, you know, and then goes and refers to him as, I forget exactly what she calls him or whatever, you know, but he's like, oh, not many people refer to him as this and that, you know. And of course, Granny Setsuno is this living legend, but this Alfaro he's just itching to try to go and take a crack at her, take a stab at her, right? And anyway, I just thought it was funny, though, how she went and this whole thing played out. Then as she goes and she's walking away and everything, and she says, so just stay out of it, get on home, you know. He goes and Alfaro's he's got this, like, trench coat on, and he's got these 8 arms underneath, and he's going to pull out his plates, right, you know, to maybe attack her. And all of a sudden you see, like, crack, and then crack, 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 crack. And then it's just awesome perspective shot of Granny Setsuno as she goes and with her face over there, and she's just like, stay out of the way. And it just, oh, it's awesome because you go and you see him back there, and then you go and you look and he sees and he pulls his hands out and whatnot, and he sees underneath his coat, all the plates are cracked. So apparently Granny's just on another otherworldly type of freaking awesome. Good. And then it was great because he's just like, okay, apparently she hasn't lost it. And it was funny because then when Bogey and, you know, what's his name, and Barry go and kind of question him, like, hey, what are we going to do now, and why did we just let her walk away? He was just like, if she had any interest in the century soup that we have, she could have taken it, and we wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So basically, he's acknowledging that she's, like, on another fucking plane of existence, right? So I guess they're just going to get Tommy and go. Nonetheless, though, the rest of the chapter takes place throughout the course of, obviously, there's a couple of pages with Toriko and company going and weaving through that tunnel, still referring to Zangi as Ghost Guts. Then they actually goes and when they find their way out, he's like, oh, man, you know, I'm going to... He says, oh, God, or I'm going to call you God. And he's like, or call me God is what he says. And they're like, yeah, okay, God, zombie. I always just love the little nods to just goofy stuff with this Zangi character. And again, I picture him as like this Irishman, you know, or Scottish type of guy. Well, Zongi! But anyway, so as they wind up coming out through that hidden passage, they see that McCoy's ship has left, it's departed, and they're pretty much marooned there. They're screwed, right? And right as everybody's kind of hearts are sinking and all hope is feeling lost, Granny appears in her magical flying jellyfish, and this thing is actually called a limousine jellyfish, right? And it's funny because somebody asked Toriko about it, you know, and Toriko's like, I don't know, it's not from the human world. I've never seen anything like this before, because I think it's Komatsu asking if it's actually living, you know. So this jellyfish, this huge jellyfish, goes and, like, you know, puts down one of its tentacles, and it's like a stairway for them to get up, and there's a ladder inside of it and everything, and Granny's like, hey, come on in, we got food waiting, and blah, blah, and they're all like, food? Especially Toriko, he's missing an arm and shit, but hey, I ain't gonna turn down a meal. So Zangi and everybody winds up going in match. Takamaru, the three mafia guys that, of course, are still pretty much in need of some major medical attention. They're wrapped up like like mummies, but they're not moving. They're still being carried around. And the rest of the chapter pretty much is just them getting in there and it's kind of one of those winding down type things, you know, say goodbye to ice hell now, let's fucking feast and eat, and let's get all the readers drooling because we see all the good food. And it just, you know, and it's so funny that a manga like this is so popular, because I wouldn't have thought when this was first pitched to me about, oh, it's about food, that it would be of any type of interest whatsoever. Food is cool, and food is very interesting. I like cooking it. I even watch some shows sometimes and some different things on how to get better at this or get better at that. But I kept thinking in my mind, how is this going to be portrayed in flat black and white pages in a manga, you know? Food is something that you can see and that you can smell. The colors of the food and then the aromas, that's really what excites the senses. It's your smell and it's the visualization of it, of course, too. And you don't have that ability to do that in here. But he just does such a great job of drawing this shit and just drawing everybody with these, like, just orgasmic looks on their faces while they're eating these wonderful pork chops and meatballs and corn and rice and whatever they're having. It doesn't matter. They could be drinking a pint of piss, but the way he draws it and the faces they make and everything, it just looks like it's just this sensual experience, you know? Absolutely love it, man. And I tell you, I don't mean to get off on a little tangent there, but it is what it is. So, anyway, so Komatsu goes in, and of course she asks Komatsu as they're eating and everything like that, you know, if he can make the century soup. He says, yes, ma'am, I can. He feels like he'll be able to do it, and she's like, cool, well, then we're off, you know, we're ready to go. What they do wind up agreeing on here, and I like this nice double-page spread over there. It kind of reminds you of something out of, like, The Last Supper or something like that, you know, the Toriko edition of The Last Supper. And just, you know, everybody kind of sitting around, chilling, man, just having a good time. Toriko's only got one arm, but who cares, man? We're eating good food. And Granny, you know, we all know Granny can cook some shit, right? So everybody's eating up, having a good time. We wind up finding out, too, that Teppei wasn't actually the one that was originally sent or commissioned by Granny Setsuno to come here. It was Teppei's boss. Teppei's boss wound up going and having him, sending Teppei out, who's only a junior level, whatever, you know, reviver, basically like an apprentice reviver, send him in his place. And Granny's kind of like, hey, what was so important that your boss would have sent you on my commission that I paid for and that I wanted to have everything? And he goes and he says, listen, I don't know, I can't give you an exact answer, but the truth is that it has something to do with the god food of Akasha, right? And or with the food god or the ingredient god or Akasha, it's something along those lines. That's all he knows, right? So we're kind of left with that. Toriko, though, however, is missing an arm, and Granny says, "Listen, there's a way we can get that back. If we go to the country of life, we can actually get that back." And we know that that's where Takamaru hails from. We also know that's where Teppei comes from. So they're going to go there because not only Toriko needs a new arm or be able to grow his back somehow, but obviously the three mafia guys of matches need some medical attention as well. And certainly it's going to be kind of cool to go there and meet some new characters, I think. And then, of course, Toriko not having to get some kind of prosthetic arm or robotic arm or being able to actually just all of a sudden be like, oh, my gourmet cells grew it back, you know? I think it's kind of cool that it's like, all right, there's only so much the gourmet cells can do. You still lost an arm, brother, and we still have to figure out how to get one for you, you know? So the chapter ends off, and essentially, and you know what? When I wind up going into these different chapters, these story arcs, what I wind up having to do as I get into them is I have to go and look up on the Wikipedia, you know, or just kind of search around to find out like where the arc picks up, where it ends, so I can make my playlists and things like that. And this one is listed as that it ends. It starts at chapter 63 and it ends at chapter 100. So even though they said goodbye to Ice Hell, and I feel like that's kind of wrapping up, I feel like it's still a continuation of it because it's still that core group of characters that came to Ice Hell. And what was nice is that you had, I would have liked to see Coco. I would have liked to even see Sunny. We didn't see them, though. We didn't even see Terry the Wolf. However, I think Komatsu got some great development here. I think Toriko obviously shined in his fight with Tommy and just him being able to evolve and get a new moveset. And then also, I really got to say, I like Match and Takamaru. I like their characters, you know. Zangi was there. He's kind of overused as comic relief, but whatever, he's there. And then, of course, Granny showing up at the end, and then just, you know, some of the characters are introduced. Very, very cool stuff. So, my chapter question, that's where things end off. My chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is really, what are your thoughts on Granny Setsuno? I know many people, when I asked this question 30 chapters ago, they were like, oh, Granny, you don't understand. Granny, she's next level, right? You know, you don't even understand how. And now I kind of get a little bit of an idea, dude, because if the right-hand man, the right-hand guy, the second in command of Gourmet Corp was like, fuck, we can't even attempt to fuck with this old lady, she's got to be something special, you know. But really, what are your thoughts on Granny Setsuno obviously coming to save the day, and of course getting everybody off this marooned island, and now being like, hey, it's cool, man, I got the limousine jellyfish, we just eat and cruise, and we'll go to the country of life, right? Let me know what your thoughts are on Granny, what she did, her coming to the rescue, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're going to look forward to catching all of you in the next one, nation. Hooey, them are some nice tig old biddies. Anyway, remember to follow me on my other channels and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well.